the Interstellar Alliance, but there are actually many different kinds of alliances, many different kinds of what you might term federations or associations or alliances. So there is actually more than one. We belong to an alliance that has obviously got members, such as ourselves, interacting with you. There are other alliances that have other members interacting with your world to some degree as well.
Well, I'm thinking that I'm getting the impression that we have in your group of peoples who are trying to raise the consciousness of our humanity here on the planet. Now, are we looking at the same from just about all the others, or are we...
There are different agendas for different beings, although a large number of the beings that you are aware of have your interests at heart in terms of helping you become more of yourselves, yes.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear that, but I'm kind of worried about the ones that may be out there that don't.
But you see, that's the dichotomy. Because if you spend time focused on the idea of the negative intentions, you actually lock yourself into the frequency where you make it more probable that that's what you will experience. This is why we share with you the ideas. It doesn't really matter what anyone else's intention is. The meaning and the vibration you give to life will determine what you manifest and what you align yourself with, and thus what you experience. So the idea is it's all well and good to be aware that there might be negatively intentioned individuals, but if you start being afraid of it, you actually lock yourself into the same vibration in which they operate, and that makes it more likely you will experience them instead of someone who has your best interests.
Well, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the, how many members are in the Galactic Alliance?
Ours?
Yeah.
How many members as in how many civilizations?
Yes.
452 at present.
452? And we're going to be the next inclusion into that?
No.
One of the next ones coming up?
One of the next ones, yes.
Okay.
There will be many more between now and the time you become an actual member.
Ah, I see. And are most of those societies like ours or like yours? Are they like, can you describe them?
We have described some of them from time to time. What would you like us to describe about them?
I don't know, their physical forms, their likes
and
dislikes.
All right.
Or maybe, actually, here's one question. What brings them all together? What is the common goal?
A perspective that all things are one, and a valuation of the differences that reflect to them all the ways that all that is can be. And an understanding of the synchronicity that results from that, and the expansion of awareness that results from interacting with all those other aspects.
I like that.
So do we.
Good. Okay.
Now, we are not saying that there are not different levels of understanding and different levels of expression even within the Alliance. There are members that, because they themselves have a relatively unified society, are simply curious to join the Alliance to see what effect it may have on them to do so. And they may have no other motivation than that. But at least in their own context, they are among themselves unified.
So it's really a group of people that have self-respect, self-love, and self-understanding that they are the one and the one is them.
Yes, and the appreciation of the difference that they are from all the other differences.
Okay.
And the difference that everyone else is from them.
Wow.
Now, there are beings, of course, that are somewhat similar to humans, but that's only about 15% of all the beings we have ever encountered.
Wow.
Most of the ones that are similar to humans in the sense that they have the two arms, the two legs, the head with the two eyes, are actually, for the most part, actually genetically related to you. Or, I'll be more precise, you are genetically related to them. Thereafter that 15%, most of the ones are not in any way, shape, or form what you would recognize as human.
Are they still corporeal?
Most of them. There are a few in the Alliance who have the ability not to be.
As your society is getting into, right?
Yes.
I see.
But most of them have at least what you would recognize as the ability to project a corporeal aspect of some sort that most members can relate to. But for some, that's just a projection of convenience.
We have said many times, there have been many demonstrations given over the military bases on your planet that harbor nuclear missiles, where our crafts have, by hovering over and extending their electromagnetic beams, shut down the launch codes, erased the launch codes, scrambled the launch codes to demonstrate that while it might still be possible for there to be a limited nuclear strike, a small one somewhere on your world, the idea of global thermonuclear war would rip through the fabric of dimensions to other realities, and this you are not allowed to do. So this will be prevented on a larger scale, even though smaller scales that will not have that effect interdimensionally can still be allowed, because you still have to make up your own minds about what you wish to experience on your world. But the larger expression of it, yes, is not allowed and will be prevented.
What makes us special as human race compared to other members of Interstellar Alliance? Why did you decide to pick us specifically to be a member of the Interstellar Alliance? And at what point in our history and why was that decided?
You are our ancestors. We are literally genetically connected to you. We are family. The idea of the demarcation line was when the hybridization agenda began, about 6,000 years ago in your terms of understanding. So the idea is that we are connected. We are family. That's the difference, specifically. The story involves humans and hybrids and the evolution of the human race.
So are most of the beings in the Interstellar Alliance humanoid in the sense of five? No.
No. The majority are not in any way, shape, or form. But there are those that are relations, that are cousins, that are similar in terms of their evolutionary path. But no, the vast majority have nothing to do with looking like a human.
So it would be like octopi and other creatures that have sentient intelligence beyond ours, or...
Yes, and some that you can't even imagine because there is absolutely no analogy or correlation to the beings on your planet.
So how did all of these beings come together, and what would you say is the level of consciousness of the beings that are part of this alliance?
Those that understand and act upon the idea of whole systems.
So can you give us an example of a species we're not aware of that would look nothing like a human?
Well, we've told you about several of them. We told you about the ones that exist almost like spheres that roll around on the inside of a bubble in liquid space. We told you about that. That's nothing like a human. Yes?
Yes.
We will go into different varieties of extraterrestrials that are non-human at another time in another transmission.
It almost seems like there's some sort of an organizing body that would then create the ability for all these different types of beings to be able to connect in.
As we have told you in the formula, the natural result of following it and understanding whole systems is the organizing principle of synchronicity. Therefore, synchronicity is the organizing mechanism that brings all of these beings together.
Absolutely fascinating. So our little corner of the reality where we have humanoid types that we're interacting with, essentially, as our first contact experiences.
Yes. Will make it a smoother transition for many of you because it's something relatively familiar.
And is that by a grand plan, or is that something that the Alliance orchestrates for that very specific reason?
It is synchronicity and also amplified and magnified by the Alliance.
So something happens when all these consciousnesses join together and form this alliance?
Oh, yes. We'll go into that at another time as well.
That's pretty exciting. Okay, so
as you move more deeply into the idea of membership in the Alliance, there will be many things to explain and describe to you that will go beyond what you typically think of as interactions with extraterrestrial beings. We will give you a fuller picture of what it means to be a member of the Alliance. This will happen sometime in the window of open contact. which begins next year of your time in 2023.
Also, you use the expression, the association of worlds. Is this association of worlds identical to what you now call the Interstellar Alliance?
Yes. There have been many interpretations for the images and energies and information that we send through the channel, different ways of interpreting it according to the vocabulary that may have existed within the channel at the time. As things get refined, as there is more familiarity between the channel and our energy, then there can be a different selection of words that might be more representative of the true spirit of this confederation, as you might refer to it. So the idea of the association of worlds is not inaccurate, but the term Interstellar Alliance, in that sense, seems more precise to focus on the idea of the alliance energy that we share between all the different civilizations, as opposed to simply something that may be considered a loose association. So over time, there may be slightly different interpretations, slightly different vocabulary that may be emphasized to express more precision about the concept. But Interstellar Alliance will do and is representative of the connections that all the civilizations have agreed to have.
And the concept of crime amongst members of the Interstellar Alliance?
Not amongst members of the Interstellar Alliance, no.
There
are other civilizations that have some similar patterns that you experience on Earth, that may experience such things in their own way, but it doesn't usually stretch out among the stars because it takes a certain state of being to become intergalactically mature enough to actually join an alliance like ours. So it becomes senseless at a certain point when you realize the magnitude of even your own single universe and the plenty that exists within it that you can access for all. So remember that the idea of those struggles and battles and wars and crimes usually stem from a sense of lack. But when you come out into the universe, the abundance that's available to you is clear. And therefore, you never receive, once you're out here, any kind of a sense of lack. Only a sense of connection. Only a sense of abundance.
It's so interesting because so many of our movies, are focused on this idea of conflict in space. Yes. And that's just because we're still in that predatory stage.
Now, such things can exist within a solar system because that's still your backyard. That's still your territory. And there have, in the ancient Orion days of suppression and oppression among certain kinds of star systems, allowed it to stretch to a few different neighboring stars. But it doesn't really, again, go much further than that. That's actually relatively rare, and the Orion systems issue is relatively unique.
When you make agreements with other civilizations in the Alliance to perform services for each other,
yes.
What are some of the most unique services that you've had to perform for each other?
One of the most unique services that we have performed for other civilizations is creating an energy field in our civilization that allows them to create a temporary body in our civilization to experience our civilization temporarily. Thus, then, when they are done with that experience, they simply pop out, retract their consciousness, and the body dissipates back into energy. Thus, then, they do not have to have what you call a full incarnation. They can have a true physical temporary surrogate experience in one of our forms to experience the sensations of our reality without that full incarnational cycle.
Also, when you help bring other civilizations into the Alliance besides us, what are some of the contact methods that you use with them? Because I imagine that their situation is probably very different than ours.
Oh, yes, of course. There are many different contact methods per se. One had to do with the idea of allowing them to appreciate that we understood their musical language. And in that sense, by replicating their musical language, they were willing to communicate. Do you understand?
Yes.
That was their sole criteria for allowing connection to other civilizations. That you had to comprehend and, in a sense, repeat back or reflect back very specific tonalities in their musical language for them to understand that a true connection existed. Without that tonal reflection, they have a belief system that says that connection is not appropriate at that timing.
Kind of like with us, we have to see you first before we believe that you're there.
Well, not exactly in that expression. More the idea that we have to understand and experience that there is a piece of us in you before we will know that you know we are all connected. So if you are operating on that level, you will be able to show us that you're operating on that level by reflecting back to us the piece of us that exists within you. And when we see that reflection, we will know that you know we are all connected, and we will feel, in a sense, appropriate in strengthening the connection from that point forward. But without that reflection, they do not allow themselves to form a solid connection to that civilization.
Okay, and for those civilizations that you've already brought over,
Yes.
what was their initial reaction to the first physical contact with you?
Well, certainly they don't have all the same reaction. You understand?
Right.
It depends not only on a civilization by civilization basis, it often sometimes depends on the individuals that are first contacted and how they relate to their civilization. But generally speaking, open contact does not really occur until there is at least some measure of coherency and cohesiveness in that civilization. Thus then, even though there are a variety of ways that individual civilizations may respond to first contact, we only make that contact when we now know that the response will generally be positive and beneficial for the entire civilization. Nevertheless, one example of open contact was all individuals in that civilization all at once lying down on the ground facing skyward. This was their way of acting as intermediaries between their planet and the sky. It was their symbol for connecting what you would call heaven and earth. So when we appeared and they recognized that the timing had come for them to connect to beings from the stars, they all lay down on their backs and looked up at the sky as an expression of gratitude and thanks and readiness for acting as intermediaries between their world and the stars.